In this my 22nd pearl of wisdom during these challenging times for us all, it would be remiss of me if I did not congratulate our nation's youth who are listening up and starting to pay attention. I want to take this opportunity to also beckon you to pay close attention to who you are rolling with. Pay attention to your company and the careless way you lend your support to things and people that are not good for you. When I was growing up, I often heard my mother say, "Show me your company and I'll tell you who you are. If you go around with losers, you will end up a loser." Whereas this is not necessarily true for all, it is sad that it is true for so many of us. Too often, we are easily led astray because of our lack of focus on what we ought to be giving our attention to in order to become value-centered citizens. We end up taking the path of least resistance, which our laziness leads us to, and we end up becoming either needy, greedy, poor, vulnerable, and/or vultures. The few who are still and are not interested in such easy path via a mess of pottage have been and continue to be vilified and maligned by their stronger negative peers, who refer to them as sissies, mommy's boys, anti-men, and other disparaging names, as if to bend them into their own fashion. I can tell you of a few of the few who never buckled under such aspersions and are today solid, mature citizens, reaping a measure of success that these same negative losers cannot come close to. In fact, as God would have it, they are begged every time they are seen by most of them whose path never collided with any semblance of upward mobility, let alone success. Many of us who do not value life and the thought that we only have one remain around the table without any courage to leave when respect is no longer being served. Our focus is so much on the mess of pottage that we are receiving that we are afraid that we will not be able to make it without what we are getting, and so we demean ourselves and remain. But I have associated myself with Sophocles' philosophy to rather fail with honor than to succeed by fraud a long time now, and so far, so good. Young people, pull up your chair and pay attention. I am glad that bit by bit you all are pulling up your chair and taking note at a time when your deceivers over the years have run out of options and gimmickry. Young people are realizing, according to Confucius, the will to win, the desire to succeed, the urge to reach their full potential, these are the keys that will unlock the door to personal excellence. It is quite encouraging to hear young people repeat when they see me, "Peace and grace, peace and blessings to your unlimited possibilities," not to mention, "Pull up a chair." That tells me they are listening. That tells me they are among the few who have structure and make time to pay attention to things shared that can do something for them. Again, I am amazed that several of them took to heart the history lesson I shared with them regarding the age Eric Gary was 29 when he fought and maimed the might of the colonial powers and the plantocracy back in 1951, some 69 years ago, and became successful as an elected member of the legislature. They seemed even more intrigued to learn that Maurice Bishop was 24 when he returned from London, and 5 years later, upon becoming leader of the New Jewel Movement, NJM, and at 29 started to give Gary, who was only 53 at the time, serious thunder until the age of 34 in 1979. He and his agitators succeeded in overthrowing Sir Eric, who was 58 by then. The part that really got them a little stirred up is the realization that in their 20s and early 30s, some of them never worked, having left school at 18, even though every 5 years they were promised heaven and earth by politicians and are today void of any substance by way of experience, with any chance of them experiencing structured maturity and a future to prepare for. Young people, that is why I keep asking you to pull up a chair and pay attention, because someone who truly cares is taking the time to share our history factually with you, so you can see how your light is burning. I have learned a long time now that there are two ways to spread light. Either be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. Plato told us a long time now, wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they have to say something. Plato also told us one of the penalties for refusing to participate in local politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Grenada is fastly becoming a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who refuse to do anything about the evil around them. And so, we are witnessing that since independence in 1974, freedom has been promised. An armed uprising had to free us from the excesses of Eric Gary 74 to 79 regime. A US military invasion in 1983 had to remove the regime that followed, which introduced the people in a post-Gary era to the heaviest manners they ever experienced. Young people after that period became prisoners of their past, leaving the island's affairs to be governed for the most part by out-of-timing, ill-intentioned talents, rendering the said young people the most unkind generation to the development of their nation. Interestingly, many of them melted into becoming needy, greedy, poor, vulnerable, and vultures. I have learnt that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not something we can pass to our children in their DNA or bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. My Monday inspirational reading was as follows. When the great flood covered the earth, Noah's family was the only one that was saved. It was because Noah found favor with God. It doesn't say Noah's sons had favor, but because they were connected to Noah, their lives were spared. The principle is, when you are connected with people who are favored, people who are further along, people who are more successful, then that favor will flow down to you. You will see increase and blessings because of your association. The question is, are you connected to people who inspire you, challenge you, and make you strive to do better? Or are you connected to people who are negative, drain your energy, and cause you to compromise? Eventually, you're going to become like whoever you're connected to. You need to disconnect from people who are hindering your growth and find some favor connections. People who are going places, people who are at another level, who have what you dream about. I am on radio now since August 1987, having been the first to start interactive radio programs through Let's Talk About It. This messenger has been jeered at, maligned, bad-talked, cursed at, just because he was bold enough to point out the unacceptable direction Grenada was headed and the inferior leadership style that would get us to that Neverland in record time. We are there now, and many of my peers who have been emasculated over the years, but were the ones helping to jeer at, malign, bad talk, and even curse at me, are asking me now, where am I when the country needs my voice? But the country knows what I stand for, which never changed. My focus is different today, and that is why I invite our young people to pull up a chair and pay attention, because my age group has failed Grenada big time, and the baton must be passed to you. If many Grenadians had not rejected the several messengers who came with sound and solid messages between 1989 and let's say the present, we would not be where we are today with unsustainability as our main course or main diet in just about every ambit of life. All I can say is, a people who lack knowledge of their history will always be doomed to repeat it. All the fete and bacchanal that many of you love to share and like and participate in on social media need to become second nature to urgent need for you to pay attention to the things that really matter. Focus on the things that can build you as against the things which are fleetingly entertaining. While you're at it, if black lives really matter to you, stop bad-mouthing one another and instead show some more love, so that the devious and ill-intentioned in our midst are not allowed to continue to divide and rule you. I'm very aware that people use insults when they cannot make civilized arguments based on facts, and I'm always prepared for that. To your unlimited possibilities.